Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited for this Next Steps workshop. We are actually welcoming back Allison. This has become a popular workshop in our community, and we're really happy to welcome her back. I'll give you a little info about Allison, but before we get to that, I just wanted to welcome you if you're new to our community. My name is Nicole Ryle, and this is a workshop put on by CIHS Enlighten, which is the public programs kind of division of our institution where we offer continuing education and certificate programs and one-day workshops like the one we're having today. So if you're interested in more, please follow us and sign up. I think you'll probably already be on our email list, but if you have anything that you'd love to see as a part of our CIHS Enlighten program, we're always looking for to support the community and give you guys what you need. So you can shoot me an email after this if there's anything that you'd love to see. All right. So let's get to Allison. Allison McLean, we're so happy to have you here. She's a physical therapist, yoga therapist, and massage therapist. And she brings a unique blend of expertise guiding you towards sustainable growth, increased revenue, and a harmonious work-life balance. She's guided hundreds of students in overcoming injuries, managing pain, and achieving their health goals. She's had successful and profitable physical therapy and wellness clinic businesses while leading classes, workshops, and yoga trainings. Her own personal journey has taught her the value of flexibility and the importance of building a sustainable business while prioritizing your well-being. I love that part so much, Allison.
Yeah.
And she's going to be your trusted guide today. And she understands the complexities of running a health and wellness business. And she'll work closely with you to overcome challenges, seize opportunities, and build a thriving enterprise. Right. And like I said, she's created two businesses that are both six-figure businesses, which is super impressive in this wellness business climate.
Mhm.
The first successful business was a brick and mortar healing and wellness clinic utilizing physical therapy, massage, and yoga. And the second is a successful business that's an online coaching business.
Mhm.
And today, the process she's going to teach you in this workshop is the same process that she used to create both of these businesses. So you're in for a treat. So you can save yourself time and money from learning from her mistakes and implementing her simple plan to create a successful business. Uh, so happy again to have you here,
Yeah, thank
Allison.
you. Thank
Yes, yes.
you. It's a pleasure.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I'm going to turn off my video, but if anybody has any questions, um, maybe you want to address how you want to handle the Q&A, Allison,
Yeah.
if there'll be time,
Yeah.
or if you want to save it to the end, I'll let you handle that. And you can always chat with me in the chat box if you need something, and I will be here for technical support the whole time. So let's turn it over. Thank you guys all for being here, and thank
Yeah.
you to
Thank you.
Allison. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. So enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. I know you carved out 2 hours of your Friday, and October is typically a busy month. So I want to make sure that you get exactly what you want out of this workshop. So we'll start since it is a small group. I want to utilize the chat and the Q&A. So right now, drop in the chat like what do you want to learn specifically for this workshop, because I can really cater it to you. And someone else just came in. Great. So drop it in the chat. Just tell me your name, tell me what you're hoping to get out of this workshop, and I will bring in your questions. And then at any time as we start moving into the slides, you're going to leave with a concrete plan to know exactly what's required to launch a wellness business. I know one of you might be doing a brick and mortar health and wellness yoga clinic here in Encinitas, which is amazing. Some of you might want to do private practice type of offices. Some of you might want to be online. Some of you might want to be a hybrid. And all of that is perfect. I've done it all. And now my coaching business is actually multiple six figures. So I really want to know what is going to speak to you most today. And so if anytime you do have a question during the, our talk, you can drop it into the chat. I mentioned this to a few of you that we're here early is that I sent out an email this morning and it has the handout. So you can go ahead and download that right now. I'll give you a moment. And because we're actually going to fill that in. So you have your concrete plan by the end of the 2 hours, because here's the thing. We're in October of 2023. The good news is, even if you are launching a brick and mortar office space and you're not planning on doing it till 2024, there's still Zoom rooms. And so you could actually sign clients before the end of this year. And how cool would that be to bring in a few $100s, a few $1,000s? It makes your business feel so legitimate. Plus, you get to do the work that really speaks to you. That's the whole reason why you want to become a wellness entrepreneur, is because you want to help people. So the sooner you can start signing clients, the more real this whole thing feels. And it's off the information you're going to learn today. You'll be able to do that tomorrow if you wanted. Does anyone have, you can raise your hand or drop in the chat or Q&A. Got a quiet bunch today. Do any of you, have you already launched? Have you already started? I'm curious. Let me know what you want to hear and where you are in the journey. So if you're looking to launch your wellness business, you're in the right place. We're going to leave with your concrete plan today, because here's the thing. I find that wellness entrepreneurs, typically when they come into so I'm a business coach for wellness entrepreneurs. When they come into my world, I work with wellness entrepreneurs in 2 ways, which you'll hear about a little bit later, is through one-to-one, or I have a group mastermind program. Is if they don't have a plan, or if they've been signing clients like kind of sporadically, meaning a client here, a client there, it's really slow. They consider it more to be like a hobby, and it doesn't feel legitimate. It doesn't feel real. And then it becomes this kind of tug of war of like, should I really invest my time? Will this really work out? If they do want it to become real, like there's this feeling of overwhelm, like what should I do? Like there's so many, I have so many things to do, like creating a website, posting on social media, actually working with my clients. Now I got to do my client homework. Like, how does it all fit in? And here I am investing all this time, and I'm really wondering, like, will this really work for me? I'm not sure what to offer or what to charge. And often what I see with wellness entrepreneurs, when all this comes into play, sometimes, and you guys know this, being wellness entrepreneurs, is that we all have nervous systems, right? And so often we think as wellness entrepreneurs, like, okay, I work with my clients on like healing and calming and down regulating their nervous system, especially like as a yoga teacher. But sometimes we forget that our nervous systems can be so impacted. It's so unconscious as an entrepreneur. And what I see happens is that we go into fight or flight or flee or freeze in our own businesses, meaning we get so overwhelmed or get into analysis paralysis that we like are frozen and don't have we don't know what decision to make, and we don't end up doing anything, or we're fleeing in our business where we're jumping from one strategy to the next strategy. We're on Instagram one day, YouTube the other day, and then we're wondering if it's all going to work, and we're fleeing all around. And so I don't want that for you, because this is the work that I do that is a little bit different. Jess has her hands up. Great. Thank you, Nicole. Where can I see the hand?
Sorry, I just gave her permission to talk if she wants to have her.
Perfect. Yeah. Go for it, Jess.
Yes. Oh, I was just gonna say, I think the chat is disabled. So
okay, I will work on that. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Oh, no wonder why everyone's being quiet.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but Jess was able to comment in the Q&A section. So if you want to come back around and hop into the Q&A section, that'll work just fine. I can see that. Thank you so much, Jess. If you tell me what you want to learn today, I can make sure I cover it. And also, if you've already launched. And Jess, is it you that's doing the brick and mortar kind of wellness hub here in Encinitas? Are you thinking of doing that?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, the collective healing space.
Awesome. I love it. And when are you thinking of launching that?
So we have a soft like open house, which is just kind of like little a soft launch, if you will, that's coming up
Oh,
next weekend. But
yeah.
I think our official launch date is going to be the second week of January.
Okay. So I might throw in some ideas on ways to, get money coming in the door before even January. And you might actually do you have any special offers you're making at your open house?
Yeah, so we're trying to do where if you kind of sign up for packages, like for instance, if you, because it's for people to rent for events and things. So if you wanted to
Uh-huh.
sign up, say, for 10 hours of time, then you can get 10% off. Or, like we're just kind of exploring some
Yeah. Okay,
um,
yeah, think about that. We can think about some offers for that. Like when because I'll have some journaling, not journaling, but like we actually like go through talking about some marketing and making sure you're clear on your offers and that sort of thing. So when we get to that section, Jess, if you want to brainstorm any special offers for that open house, feel free to drop it in the Q&A area there and we can go over it so you feel prepared.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's my specialty. Okay, so we're gonna go on here. So through this presentation, I sprinkled some of my client success stories like Aubrey here, because I think sometimes it's so helpful to see and hear of entrepreneurs, and there's varying different types who have been in your shoes. Like Aubrey was a stay-at-home mom for 20 plus years, but she is extremely credentialed and skilled practitioner herself, like multiple certifications and various trainings in healing and coaching modalities. And but she just hadn't been doing it for real because she has four daughters. And when she reached out to me, she her daughters were getting into high school and college. And so they were getting older and she wanted to create some more fulfillment in her life. She had this burning passion to do this work for so long. In fact, she really wanted to teach this webinar that she'd been thinking about for years, and she just didn't know where to start. And also, she wanted to provide an example for her daughters, saying, like, look what your mom can do. You can do whatever is in your heart. That was really important to her. And so she came to me, and that's exactly what we did. We put together her offer right from the scratch. She signed her first few clients working with me. She ended up teaching that webinar, which was a great success. People loved it in our time working together. So I'm telling stories like Aubrey. And you'll hear a few others. Now, Aubrey was online. She was a complete online coach. So you can see it really can be done, like being a wellness entrepreneur. As you can see, I'm leading this training here live from my She Shed in Encinitas. And that's the yoga wall behind me. Like you can really do it in the way that you envision. It doesn't have to be some cookie cutter, out of the box wellness one size fits all strategy. It gets to be what your heart and what your lifestyle really speaks to you. That being said, like every entrepreneur is going to go through growth edges while growing their business. And it's important to hear of stories of varying different types of success to remind yourself when you're in that, we call it the river of misery, when you're in a growth edge where maybe clients aren't coming as quick as you would like, or maybe if you do have a brick and mortar and you've got so much red tape or hoops to jump through to actually like make the thing a reality, that you remember, oh yeah, like I remember in Allison's presentation, she talked about this person or that person. Like if any of my clients can do it, because all my clients that I work with are really amazing practitioners and people, like I just have this ability. Fortunately, I'm so grateful to attract really amazing people to work with, but they're also not special snowflakes. So if they can do it, if any of them can do it, then I know you can too. So a lot of these stories are for inspiration for you. And if any of them really speak to you, there is this QR code right here. If anytime you want to book a one-to-one free consultation with me and talk about your specific business beyond what we talk about here. Because it is a small group, we can do a lot here, right, on this training. But if you want to do it in an individualized way, or if there's things that you don't want to say live, and you want it in a more personalized space, then you at any time can use that QR code to book a call with me, and we can talk about your individual next steps. So here's some common mistakes a lot of wellness entrepreneurs make. And I wrote them down here because I want you to be aware of them, not to eradicate mistakes. Here's the thing. Entrepreneurship, there's going to be failure 100%. Now, a lot of the wellness entrepreneurs I work with, again, are so skilled, multi-certified, so many trainings, like maybe they've been doing this work in various fashions. So by the time they want to become an entrepreneur, yes, some of you might be new, maybe in a certification that you just finished, or maybe it is your first certification, but you're bringing a host of other skills and knowledge to the table as a wellness entrepreneur. And a lot of the times I find that you care so much about the clients that you want to help, and you want to appear right off the bat being so professional and put together, and all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, that you're so afraid to make a mistake. You're so afraid to fail. And that can really hold you back, because here's the truth, and it's not often talked about. You won't see this on Instagram too much. You won't hear this from other business coaches too much, but the path of entrepreneurship is how you get it right is by failing. So the more you fail, the more mistakes you made, the more you'll be likely to succeed. I've failed so many times in my wellness business, and then the clients that I coach with they go through failures themselves or mistakes themselves. So the point of this is to remind you that mistakes are going to happen, but at the same time, like, if I can help you shorten your learning curve and have less mistakes, then you will achieve success faster than me, and you can avoid some of these common pitfalls. So one of the common pitfalls I see is wellness entrepreneurs spending time on the wrong things. So you may say, what are these wrong things? Let's see. Can you guys drop in the Q&A? What do you think are some of the common activities that wellness entrepreneurs do that are the wrong things? Just throw it out there. Take a guess, and I'll give you what I think are some of the common wrong things I see entrepreneurs spending a lot of time on, and it's not necessarily going to move their business forward. I'll give you a moment to think about that. And I know some of you are watching on the replay, so you can think about this for yourself in the recording. And it might surprise you what you think some of the wrong things are. Okay, I'll tell you. It's working on your website. It's a big one. Creating email funnels is another one. Anything to do where you're doing trainings like this is great, but if you're constantly doing trainings and consuming, but never actually implementing, it's another common mistake. The bottom line is you're doing a lot of stuff behind the screen, and you're never interacting with real humans. That is a common mistake, because you think, oh, I need to have my website put together so perfectly so I can appear professional. I need my business cards, another thing that you're doing behind the screen, done so I appear professional. And you're spending weeks and months and hours and days. I know some entrepreneurs, by the time they come to me, they've been working on this stuff for 6 months and haven't signed one client, because they're not interacting with any humans. They're not getting out behind the screen, because here's the thing. It feels really vulnerable to do that, because you run the risk of failure. You run the risk of going to a networking event, which CIHS, I love. They have these really wonderful networking events. If you haven't attended one, I highly recommend. I try to go to them when I can. You can meet me in person. But you could run the risk of someone asking you, oh, what do you do? And kind of verbal diarrhea comes out of your mouth and you're just like, God, what did I just say? Like that felt awful, right? And everyone's been there as an entrepreneur, myself included. Before I got to like my I help statement, which is I help wellness entrepreneurs grow a profitable business, right? Simple and clear. I went through a lot of I help statements that weren't. And I said many statements where I showed up at networking events and people are like, wait, what? What do you do? Because I would bring in my past. I'm a physical therapist. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a coach. I'm a massage therapist. And I have a brick and mortar and I have all these credentials and da 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 da. Oh, and also I do this coaching for wellness entrepreneurs. And people are like, whoa, too much, too much. And the only way you know is if you actually get out there and talk to people and say to people like, oh, did you know that I can help you with that? That's the work I do with my clients. Have you ever worked with a yoga teacher for this? Have you ever worked with a health coach for this very thing? It's exactly what I do. Would you be interested in consultation? And getting a no right there in person, that is so vulnerable. But the more that you get used to handling those uncomfortable emotions in your body, the more that you'll get up and you'll show up and you'll do more of those, because the more you do that, eventually you will get a yes. And then you'll start getting more yeses and more yeses. And that's how you get to getting fully booked and then hitting 6 figures and then hitting multiple 6 figures. It's the only way to do it. If you're always hiding behind the screen and then hiring out a marketing assistant, it's the slowest and most expensive. I'll say that again, the slowest and the most expensive way to go. So get out there and meet people. We're going to talk about specifically, that's AKA marketing. And as Jess, I think it was Jess. I need to pull up my audience. Is that correct? Whoops. Had said is that she's doing the open house, and that is a wonderful way to get to meet people. I'm seeing something in the chat. Yes, Jess. Perfect. It's a wonderful way to get out there and meet people. We're actually talking to people. You'll hear what they're struggling with. You'll hear their desires, which will influence your marketing, will make you better in consultations if you decide to offer those. The attendee box. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, another common mistake I see, and if you have any questions on that, just let me know, because usually that like right off the bat blows people's minds. They're like, wait, I thought I had to have a website before I launched my business and signed my first client. No, you do not. I have many clients that will come to me, and some of them have their website built and some of them don't. It's under construction. And here's the truth. Like I have peers that have hit 6 figures without a website. I myself did a very bare bones. I did it myself. I don't know. I'm not a techie person, right? But I learned it all through trial and error. I had a very basic website through Squarespace, and I hit 6 figures with that website before I actually hired someone and has my professional site now. So please don't waste time and money on that when you can actually be out there and marketing. Now, another common mistake I see is niching down too early. Drop in the chat if you have a niche. So I'll give you some examples. My niche is working with wellness entrepreneurs. I'm a business coach that works with wellness entrepreneurs. So I don't necessarily work with product-based businesses. I don't coach lawyers on how to start their lawyer practice. I work with wellness entrepreneurs, and some of them, as I mentioned, they're a hybrid of online and brick and mortar. Some of them are only brick and mortar. Some of them are fully cash-based, so they're a healthcare provider. Some of them are a yoga teacher, varying degrees of wellness entrepreneurs. Now, the only way I came into that niche was because I had my own brick and mortar online coaching business where I help people heal from pain and sciatica, and I help them with their own health and wellness online. And everywhere in the world, I had clients in Brazil and Portugal. It was really amazing. And I started getting requests from wellness entrepreneurs and healthcare providers that a lot of them, some of them were my patients, would come to me with various problems in their body. And we would get talking and they would come to me again and again and again. And they'd be like, oh my God, I just love your business model. Can you teach me how to run a business like this? And I say, sure. And we'd start. And then I started leading more and more yoga teacher trainings. I have a yoga therapy certification that I led all over the world. And so then some of the yoga teachers from the certification started asking me like, oh, can you help me start a yoga business where I'm not having to drive all around town and teach a class at 7 a.m. and a class at 7 p.m. Like I can choose what classes I want to teach and have more private sessions, which is more lucrative, and still do the thing I love. So the niche came to me. The thing is that I see a lot of people making is they're seeing, especially in this area, a lot of wellness and health coaches and entrepreneurs, and they're saying, well, I want to differentiate myself. Or they've even heard like, I want to create my own blue ocean, so I must have a niche. I must niche down. There's even a saying, the riches are in the niches. But you don't, because the mistake I see is people spinning again behind the screen or in their journal and in their notebook, like trying to conform the perfect niche in their brain. And they're trying it, and then they're crossing it off. They're going out and maybe getting a couple no's, and they're like, oh, it must be the niche. I choose the wrong niche, so now I'm going to switch niche. And I give this analogy a lot when we're switching niche to niche. It's like I know here in San Diego, a lot of you guys are love embodying your own wellness practices. It's a big thing that I teach for my own wellness entrepreneurs and for myself, is hiking. So it's like coming up to a trailhead where the trailhead is a circle and there's all these trails shooting off from a circle, kind of like a compass. And so you're on this trailhead and you're like, ooh, that trail looks nice. I think I'll start on that trail. It's nice and sunny. And then you get going on that trail and the sun comes out and all of a sudden it's like blazing. And you're like, no, this trail sucks. It's like totally uncomfortable. It's not working. This is not what I signed up for. It's not going the way I hoped. It's not easy. So you turn around and you go back to the trailhead. And then you're like, ooh, I see that trail. It looks pretty shady. I'm going to go down that trail. And so then you start down that trail. But the reason why it's shady is because it hasn't been bushwhacked. So now you're getting whacked in the head by these like branches and you're getting all scraped up. And you're like, this trail is terrible. No one's maintained it. I can't even, I need like a hacksaw to get down this trail. I didn't come with those tools. I'm not prepared. I'm not equipped. It must be the trail. I want to get to that mountain. I want to peak. I want to get up to that peak up there, but this is not the trail to go. It's too uncomfortable. It's too hard. There's an easier trail. I'll go down that trail. So then you leave that trail and you go back to the trailhead and you start again and you go down another trail and you're like, oh, it's the Goldilocks trail. It's not too sunny. It's not too shady. This is a great trail. This is perfect. I'm not getting blazed by the sun. I'm not getting scratched up. And then all of a sudden a steep incline comes and you're like going up this incline and you're like, my glutes were not made for this trail. Like I didn't sign on to climb a mountain. I just want to hit that peak over there. It's not this steep. Like, and so then you head back down and you get the picture, right? We think that the path of entrepreneurship is just going to be like academia, where if someone gives you the step-by-step process, it's just going to be magical. If we build it, people are going to come. And sometimes that happens. And sometimes we pick a niche and people aren't saying yes to our offer, even though we spent months and weeks trying to perfect this niche. We're still getting no's. So then we switch our niche. When we do that, it's like going back to the trailhead and starting completely over, because you have to reestablish to your audience your new offer, your new niche. It's starting a completely new business. So what I tell my wellness entrepreneurs who are just starting out is start broad. There's a way to differentiate yourself, even if you are broad, even if you're another yoga teacher or health coach helping people get well and have a thriving health and wellness. Never say that so general. We're going to get into that. But there's ways to differentiate yourself where you don't have to narrow down, because truthfully, the niche will come with the more people you work with, right? And the beauty of that is that you're making money, and the niche is just going to come by you helping people. And then you're like, oh, I've actually worked with a lot of the geriatric population on falls and balance risk. I never would have known that that's who I naturally attract, and that's who I really enjoy to work with. And then that becomes your niche. Because again, the mistake I see is entrepreneurs spending so much time trying to create this fantasy niche, and then they don't even attract that person in their website, their marketing, their logo. Everything's geared towards like the mom niche, for example, who wants to be less stressed. And then they realize, oh, I'm not even attracting moms anyways. I really am attracting the geriatric population who wants to prevent falls. And now I have to go change my whole website. I have to go change my whole logo. I have to go change my whole email. And then you're behind the screen again, not signing clients. So it seems a little messy, but it's not. You just go out there, and if you're personally connecting with people, you just tell them like, oh yeah, I work with a lot of people that are looking to prevent falls or heal from falls and reduce their balance risk. And this is how I work with you. And you don't even need a website. It's so simple. And then the niche comes, and the more people you work with, you'll hear about their struggles. So the website writes itself with the more people you work with. It happens so much faster. Okay. So another common mistake, is this blowing your mind? Is this different than what you've heard so far? Let me know. I would love to hear it in the Q&A, or if the chat is able, let me know, because this is typically what I hear from people that's different than what's being taught there. And I'm really shortening the learning curve for you here. Yeah, really different. And it can be uncomfortable, because it's like, oh, I'm doing something a little bit different. But the truth is, you'll start helping people faster. Your business will feel more legitimate faster. You'll get more referrals faster because you'll be helping people faster. And so then everything happens with a little bit more ease. And I'll show you how you can appear professional during that process, even if your website isn't fully done. Okay, so you think that more education and trainings will bring in clients. Now, this is coming from a person that has a whole wall, and now you're not even seeing one whole other wall. I should say multiple walls of certifications. I am a seeker. I will always learn. I'm always going to new trainings and getting new knowledge. So I am not saying don't go to trainings, but there's different skill sets. There's the skill set of being the practitioner, and then there's the skill set of being an entrepreneur and learning business skills. They're two different skill sets. And if you're going to all the practitioner trainings thinking that's what's going to bring in clients and make your business grow, you're poorly mistaken. Yes, you want to make sure you're getting people results, because that's how you'll get referrals. Of course, that's the whole reason why you're in business, and that's the whole reason why people are paying you. So you want to make sure when someone pays you, you're able to fulfill on the promise that you mentioned to them about getting them the results that they're paying you for. So that's why you do need to continue CEUs and go to all the wonderful classes that CIHS has. But you want to make sure you're learning business skills, and it's not taught in a lot of trainings to make sure you're spending, there's no perfect ratio. It doesn't have to be completely equal, but you are spending time and money in learning business skills too, because just being a good practitioner, I can't tell you the number of wellness entrepreneurs I worked with walls of certifications, at PhDs, doctorates, And they're like, I'm not signing clients. Like, I must be a bad practitioner. And it doesn't have anything to do with that. It just means that they don't know how to market. Their messaging is not clear. They're hiding behind their computer screen and not getting out there and actually talking to people. So they have nothing to do with each other. You need two different skills. So don't be mistaken that practitioner skills trainings will bring in the clients. It's not guaranteed. That's not how it works. Marketing brings in the clients, and you need to know marketing skills. And which leads me to the next mistake is underestimating the amount of marketing that's required. A lot of practitioners think something has gone wrong when they have to promote themselves a lot, right? Because there's this old school way of thinking that says, oh, if you put up the business, they will come. That might have worked 30 years ago when, the internet and not every person out there, especially in Encinitas, was a yoga teacher, right? They say yoga teaching is the next waitressing, unfortunately. But, here's the thing, the bar of entry to become a yoga teacher or a health coach is low. And so you do need to differentiate yourself in your marketing. And it doesn't mean that you have to be on social media. You don't have to have an Instagram account. I help wellness entrepreneurs like Aubrey. She was barely on Instagram. She was, but you don't have to be. Like, she posts sporadically. If you're going to a lot of networking in-person events, which fortunately here in San Diego, there's a plethora of, then you could very easily fill your practice through just in-person network and not social media. So, but you do have to do something. And some people think that something has gone wrong if you're not immediately getting referrals and if your practice is just not immediately filled because you hung the shingle on the door and you said door is open. Nothing's gone wrong. You have to market. And you don't want to pay a marketing admin person right off the bat, because you won't train them well, and then your money will be wasted because they're going to put up generic posts just like any other yoga teacher or any other health coach out there. So you want to do it yourself, and I'll tell you how. We'll talk about that today. All right, I'm just going to turn on my fan because it's getting hot in here in my shed. And then I'll tell you about Timey. But while I do that, just think of if you have any questions so far on those mistakes. Any questions? No, not yet. Okay. So Timey, she came to me. She's a speech pathologist, yoga teacher, and health coach. And she came to me wanting to start her business from scratch. So if any of you are in this place, then you might relate to this story. She had a full-time job as speech pathologist in the schools. And she really wanted to get out of the mill of working with patient after patient after patient. And, speech pathology is very different than yoga teaching and wellness and health coaching. And that was really her passion. She loves health and wellness, loves yoga, loves to work out, knows a ton about gut health. And as you can see there, integrative anxiety, especially, she has her own story about overcoming anxiety. And she didn't know where to start. So we worked together, and when she worked with me, she first started signing her own clients. She had a dream revenue of bringing in $6,000 a month and reducing her speech pathology job from full-time to part-time. And we actually did that. She's been with me now multiple rounds, and her, I think it was within the first or the start of her second round, she reduced her hours in her speech job and started doing more health coaching. And then she went past her $6,000 goal, and she had $7,000 months. So now she averages between $5,000 and $7,000. And she's doing amazing. We're planning for 2024 what's going to be needed so she can leave her job for real, for full time. So that is Timey's story. So just know that you can make money while having a job. In fact, here's another thing not often said. I actually don't recommend quitting your job till you have consistent 5 to 7K months rolling in, because you just don't ever want to be in a place of scarcity while trying to grow your business. Because what happens then, it's like having a baby. I use this analogy a lot. In fact, I said this on a podcast episode recently. If you don't follow my podcast, I highly recommend go do that. It's Ignite Your Wellness Business. I'll drop the link in the chat in just a little bit when I come off a share screen. But it's like having a baby, right? You have this 3-month-old baby, like doesn't have the skill set or the motor development to walk. You're never going to force a baby to walk at 3 months when they don't have the skills to walk till 9 months or later. But unfortunately, what happens is entrepreneurs is we have this brand new business and we're like, bring us 5K months right now. It's like forcing that baby at 3 months to be like, walk baby. And when it doesn't walk, it's like bad baby. And then you yourself, you beat yourself up over that. And you're like, I must be a bad entrepreneur. I must be a bad practitioner because I'm not succeeding like quick enough. And when in reality, nothing has gone wrong. You just haven't given it enough time. So I always say, the nice thing about having a job, even if it's not really fulfilling your soul completely, is that it's allowing you to start this business. And especially if you can build savings during this time while you're starting your business, then you'll feel so much more sufficient in your business. And because again, the nervous system, here we go. When you feel sufficient, your nervous system isn't going to be triggered into that constant fight or flight and stress response where you can breathe and be creative and problem solve because you are more down regulated. So, if you've already left your job, it's all right. I've had some clients that have gone back and gotten their job because they didn't want to feel stressed out and hustling all the time and overworking. I did that in my first business. I overworked a ton, and I will hear in just a moment that it didn't work. It led to burnout, and I just don't want anyone to. It wasn't needed. I didn't see my daughter a lot. She's 2. And now this business where I am, I'm making a lot more money, working a lot less hours, and I have ample time with my family. And I'm really living my dream life. And you can too, even if you're just starting out as a wellness entrepreneur. So I highlighted this already. Following this workshop, you're going to get the step-by-step template to open up your shop, whether that be online, in person, or a hybrid. So you don't lose weeks and months of not bringing in money, especially if you don't have savings or a job. That's how I started my business. It's how I ended up in hustle. I don't recommend it. You're going to know your irresistible offer. We'll go over that. And then a reliable method to get your first few paying clients, which is marketing. And we'll get into a little bit of selling, which is converting, your audience. If marketing is getting you visible, establishing a following, an email list, getting you people that know, like, and trust you. And then selling is actually converting that audience to paying customers. So who am I? As Nicole highlighted, I'm Dr. Elsa McLean. I am a physical therapist, yoga teacher, massage therapist, coach. And I own Ignite Your Wellness Business, where I help the wellness entrepreneur grow a profitable business. And that's my daughter, who now she's 8 now. I get to spend a lot of time with her. But in that middle picture, I went through my own struggles of learning the hard way, the school of hard knocks, as it's called. And when I started getting a lot of requests, when I learned how to not teach a yoga class at 7 a.m. because I had a 6-figure business and it looked perfect on paper, but I was teaching 7 a.m. yoga class. And I would come back and I would work with a bunch of patients. Then I would teach a 12 p.m. yoga class. And I would come back, work with a bunch of patients, and then teach a 7:30 p.m. yoga class. And then I wouldn't get home down in La Jolla. And then, so I wouldn't get home back up to Encinitas till like 9:30 at night. My daughter was in bed already. I didn't see her all day. I was tired because I had to wake up and pretty much do the same thing over the next day. On the weekends, I led workshops and trainings, which I loved. But I was tired and exhausted. And I realized, like, the only reason why I thought I had to do it that way is because my mentors did it that way. Like, in the wellness, it's so contradictory, but in the wellness and yoga world, you'll see it. You'll see it from your peers. Your yoga teacher friends teaching like classes 15, 20 classes a week all over town, and they're tired. They're dragging. They're not feeling well themselves. They're not embodying their own wellness practices. They're not going to yoga anymore because they don't have time for it. Or healthcare providers, physical therapists, back to back patients, and coming out of there exhausted, booking patients during their lunch, booking patients at time when they want to be home with family. It's a hustle culture. And when I started getting requests when I changed my business around and put strong boundaries on my working hours, and I had to say no to a lot of things I loved. But it gave me so much freedom. And now I show up with so much more energy and vitality. I think I get better results with my people now than ever before because I am truly caring for myself. If you follow me on Instagram, it's Ignite Your Wellness Biz. Let me see if I can drop it in the chat. You'll hop in my stories. I'm always telling about the yoga class I'm going to, what I'm doing with my daughter. I practice what I preach, and you see it in action. Like, I'm doing all the things. I'm living my life. Next week I'm going to Florida for a week. And I have a successful multiple six-figure business. So it can be done. If someone tells you otherwise, they're wrong. Run far, far away. Yeah, it became my passion when I started getting requests for so many entrepreneurs. Like, how did you do this? Can you teach me how to do this? And then I realized how many wellness entrepreneurs were really struggling like I was, burning out, tired, didn't have a clear plan, doing the wrong things. And now I have the pleasure of helping a lot of people create the business, the dream that they always envisioned. And that truly is my passion. So we talked a little bit about dropping questions, frameworks, anything so far. I like to take little breaks to allow you to kind of digest the information. Any comments, thoughts, questions coming up so far? These pictures are me, my real life pictures. So you see that I know how to fill rooms. I know how to get fully booked. I've been there. I am a practitioner at heart. I've been in your shoes. And so if what I teach is seeing different than the normal, it's because I want you to be successful sooner rather than later. And literally, this is what I've done to create this life for myself. There will be a replay on this. I will be sending out, because I know some people are watching on the replay, I will be sending out a replay page with the link later today. So you can watch this as many times as you want. You can go through the worksheet a few times even. So if you feel really comfortable on your plan. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the business stress cycle. I'm going to put it from a slightly different perspective here for a second. Because you guys are in the beginning phases of your business where you're in the excitement phase. Like Jess has got the open house coming up. You're thinking about working with your ideal clients. How cool would that be? If you're, thinking of doing it online, you can live that laptop lifestyle. You'll have so much fear. But then what happens is sometimes right when you open doors, when I see one or two things happen, a lot of clients come, and that's amazing. But then there tends to be a dip at some point, or you open the doors online or in person and no one comes. At some point, there'll be crickets. And I'm not saying there'll be no one, but it'll slow down. And the excitement will fade, and you'll get into the grind of working with clients and then marketing and selling and doing that kind of process throughout your day. And that excitement will fade. And then maybe if your revenue isn't where you want it to be, or you start doubting, like, is this really working? Am I successful? Are you overworking to bring in more money? And you end up at the low part of the business stress cycle, because as the excitement fades, the stress comes in. And again, I want you to be aware of that, because you don't have to fall so low, especially like that's a benefit of working with a coach, whether it be me or anyone else, is that I see a dip or a stress cycle starting to happen with my clients, and there's so much I can do. In fact, this week on the podcast, it's how to sign clients today. But I'll work with my people in my mastermind and people one-to-one, and I'll ask them very specific questions. Okay, like, what were you doing in the past that was working? What have you stopped? Like, we create an awareness of why the shift is happening. And so then we're able to turn the shift around and shift it around before it even gets like to dire straits. So it happens to everyone. No business is like the graph that completely goes upward. It's more like this on the trajectory of getting more, helping more people, and increasing your own revenue. But so many wellness entrepreneurs, if they don't have a coach or aren't aware, get stuck in the downturn, and then they're beating themselves, and there's a lot of negative emotions going on, and they're really stressed out, and they kind of get stuck there. And I don't want that to happen to you, because then that leads to burnout. And you, as a wellness entrepreneur, know the effects of burnout and the havoc it wreaks on the body and the adrenals. Or you spin in confusion, and that way you're like freezing, and you're stuck in that downturn, and you have nowhere to go. And I mean, ultimately, again, like, you're in this business to help people. And when you're burnout and when you're stuck and frozen, then the people that you want to so desperately help, they don't get the help. And then you try to hustle and overwork to pay the bills. Or some people, you can hear my client story. I think I put her in the slides. Justine, she when she first came to me, she's a multiple six-figure earner, very successful business. She's a physical therapist. She specializes in women's health. She has a brick and mortar in Colorado. And she was thinking, she has a team, a front office admin, another PT, and she was thinking of closing down her business. She was so burnt out, so tired, wasn't bringing home any money, so she wasn't really profitable. And she was like, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? I think I'm going to close shop. And essentially, when we worked together, I turned it around for her. She did the work, but through coaching, working with me, we turned it around and simplified her business, got her more profitable. She like says in the video, which is on my website, she immediately started getting added $20,000 of profit in her bank account. So she felt so much more sufficient. She started having way more time with her family, sleeping better at night, which is how important that is. I don't need to speak to the practitioners here about that. And she has her business now because she realized, like, her business is her baby and her dream. Like, if she closed her business, she'd be giving up on her dream, and she would be feeling unfulfilled. And so fortunately, we were able to stop that before she did quit on it. So as I hinted, uncomfortable emotions, stress, mistake, failure, all of that is going to be there. You want to be prepared for that. You want to develop, that's part of the skill set I teach in business coaching, is how to handle uncomfortable emotions in your body so that you can recognize it before you get so burnt out or stuck that you give up on your business or start doubting. So you are so lucky to know this in the very beginning of your journey, so you don't end up beating yourself up or giving up on your business before you've ever started. I didn't know this, so I ended up in that stress cycle. So here's Emily's story. Emily is also a physical therapist who specializes in women's health. And she has a brick and mortar in Tucson and is also a health coach and a yoga teacher. So she does some online work as well. When she came to me, she had a few health coaching clients, 2 of them. And then she was moving to Tucson. So we started her brick and mortar from scratch. She actually was just on the podcast, if you want to hear her tell her story. And she wanted to maintain the health coaching clients. So in a time period of 2 months, she moved to Tucson from California. She has 15 patients a week consistently in her brick and mortar, and has her online health coaching clients. And we're preparing her. One of her goals for 2024 is to start an online group. So we're preparing for that. So it doesn't have to take long when you know what to do. And we're going to do it right now. Good news. Okay. I want to pull up my worksheet. I forgot or I pulled it up, but I forgot when I started my screen share that I can't see it. So I want to pull my worksheet. If you haven't already, go print out the worksheet. And if you don't have the worksheet, I'm going to read off the questions, which is why I want to make sure I have the worksheet for you. The other thing in the worksheet here is I have, in a moment, step 1 is going to be all the specific steps that you need to actually like dot the I's and cross the T's to start your business. So I have a list of that. So you don't frantically have to write it down right now. You'll get a list of all those steps in the worksheet. So, okay, I'm just going to share my screen once more. Any questions as we moved into this part of actually doing this work, getting your plan together with now all this awareness of what to be out on the lookout for? Any questions about the stress cycle or uncovering uncomfortable emotions, anything like that? Now, here's the thing. Often when I talk about this, people are like, oh gosh, thank you so much for that awareness. I had no idea. And sometimes some people can be a little like fearful. Oh gosh, I didn't realize a business was so much work. I didn't realize I was going to have to do all this stuff. And here's the thing, as you can see from Emily's story, is that it can happen quickly. And from my own story of doing, business a new way, when you know what to look out for, then you can prevent a lot of that stress to begin with in the first place. So it can feel really easy and natural too. I just like to prepare people so that way, if you are in flow and it's rocking and it's rolling and you just have an off day or you're in a funk, you're like, oh, I'm just having an off day. It's a funk. Nothing has gone wrong. You can get back into your flow because it really can be easy. So I wanted to say that to you as well. Okay, so what you've got here is a list of, these are like the actual logistical steps that are needed to start a business. And as I said here in the handout, you have it written down for you right there. So you don't have to worry about writing it down right now. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory. I'll go through the list. You can look it over right now. There is another slide on this to make sure you don't have any questions because you're live. So take advantage of my brain power, my expertise, my years of doing business. Get your questions answered. Be courageous. Show up. Be vulnerable. Start to feel those uncomfortable emotions in your body right now. Because it'll just make the next days and weeks easier to get that business launched. So if you're looking at this list and you're like, well, I don't know about this, or I actually tried this and this happened, ask me, because I've been through it or I've helped a client through it. And here's the thing that might blow your mind. Back to, the common mistakes and hiding behind the screen. I see wellness entrepreneurs taking months to do all these things. And I'll tell you, because I did it myself, what happened for me, for my story, actually was I worked for my mentor as a physical therapist, yoga teacher, massage therapist for a decade or so. And she moved to Israel and sold her business. And I was leading a satellite office up here in Carlsbad. The main office was down in North Park. And when the new owner was about to take over, she didn't want the satellite office. So she closed it down and fired me. So here I was, I just had my baby. So my daughter was 3 months old at the time. I had drained all my savings to go out on maternity leave. No plans to start a business. Both of my parents were actually wellness entrepreneur, or not wellness on. They were both entrepreneurs. And okay, Jess, I see your question. We'll go over that. And I had no desire to start a business because both my parents hustled and were burnout and I never saw them. And I didn't want that life for my daughter. And so I had no desire to start a business. But what happened was people started contacting me. people started reaching out to me and being like, Allison, I don't want to drive all the way down to North Park. That's like a half hour to an hour, depending on traffic. I don't want to go to that other therapist. I like you. And I already had a spare room at my house where I was seeing some of my own clients on the side. So I already had a few clients I was working with on my own. And I remember I told my husband, I was like, I know we didn't plan for this, but can I have 1 week to think about and decide if I want to start a business or not? Because I have all these people that are calling me and they want to get booked. My husband said, sure. And during that week, I kept getting more and more calls. And I decided, okay, I'm just going to do it. And I started scheduling these people at my house. And I was like, well, shoot, I got to get set up as a business. I set up my business in less than a week. I set it up in 2 days. The very next week, started working with people in my business. So if I can do it, you can too. Don't waste weeks and months to do all this stuff. It can be done in 1 day. If you have 8 hours, bang it out. If not, give yourself a couple weeks. That's fine. But don't take longer than a month for sure. If you're taking longer than a month, something's happening up here. There's a mindset or fear or some type of block that you need to get coached on. Okay. So Jess says, I got some conflicting advice on whether or not you should do LLC right away until you have a steady flow of clients. So Jess, I'll tell you what my accountant told me. I am not a CPA. I am not an accountant. So just saying that, I'm not giving out accounting advice or legal advice. This is just personally what I've done. And I do not have an LLC right now because there's a certain profit threshold that you want to reach before, because of taxes. You end up, if you go from a sole proprietor to incorporated, which can be sole proprietor incorporated or an LLC, and an accountant can help decide which one for you, you end up paying more in taxes before you have the revenue to do that. And plus then you have to like pay yourself like an employee. And personally, I even though I had very little savings, and even how I operate now is I like to invest a good portion of my my earnings through my business back into my business, because it helps it to grow. So like right now I'm in a mastermind. I have a personal coach, a personal one-to-one coach. I learn business skills and practitioner skills. I invest a lot in my brain. I invest a lot in my business, and I see the benefit of that. It's also how I grew quickly. And so because of that, my profit's lower. Now you don't have to do it this way. Like, actually next week on the podcast, I have an accountant on it, and we talk a little bit about finances, and like, we talk about how for both of us, we chose not to invest in a car. Like I have a 2012 Honda Fit. I easily could have bought a fancy car by now, but I chose to put that money back into my business. So my family and I pay expenses in my family. My husband for sure, because we own a house in Encinitas. For sure, my husband cannot float our family finances by ourselves. So I do contribute a lot to my family. But because I invest so heavily in my business, I right now my profit margin isn't super huge, and I don't want it to be that way. So there's no point in me being incorporated, and my accountant and I have a certain revenue marker, which I'm going to do that, which is probably going to be next year, because I'm like really at the threshold of that. And I'm just like, keep holding myself back from jumping over. But there's certain profit margins, and it depends, because I have a client who just started out in her business, and she incorporated right away because her husband works for the government, and she wanted her business and their personal life to be completely separate. So if for any reason his government job, there was just no crossover. So I think to answer that question, Jess, it really depends on your own personal goals, and also what's happening with your family. But I recommend for some of my entrepreneurs, for ease of simplicity, and again to just start working with clients sooner rather than later, is just start out as a solopreneur. Find an accountant, talk to them about when the ideal time to incorporate for your personal circumstances is, and then at any time you can incorporate. So I might do it next year, but then you can decide for yourself. But there's no harm in just starting out as a sole proprietor, unless you have some special family circumstances going on in which the accountant would be best fit to answer that question. Great question though. Any other questions like that, you can throw in the chat. So what you do want is to make sure that you're meeting San Diego, or if you're working in person and in Encinitas, the license and city and state requirements. So I have my Encinitas business tax. I'll show you it to you right now. Up on the wall there. So that frame right there, I don't want to take it off right now. So it's so simple. It's only 25, I think maybe it's $35 to establish and then $25 to renew every year. So you just, this is if you're working in person, a brick and mortar, you just send them your certificate and let them know what you're doing. So I sent them my personal therapy degree over there, and then my yoga teacher certification, and then they just establish you in the system. So if you're a massage therapist, you want to make sure that you're following San Diego's guidelines. And I know that's changed now since when I was at HHP, where it's now is there a national board. So you want to make sure you're following the correct guidelines. We talked a little bit about the entity status. Oh, the S Corp. That's what I was meaning to say before. Now, here's the thing. You're going to see in the next bullets down here is that you immediately want to set up a business checking account. You want to keep your business finances different from your personal finances, completely separate. And so then what you do is you pay yourself from your business checking account, and you can do this once a month. I personally do it twice a month, either or, it doesn't matter. Then you pay yourself direct from your business checking account. The only way you can get a business checking account is by having what's known as a DBA, or doing business as. So you can Google that, DBA San Diego, and you'll get a EIN number, and you'll establish your doing business as name. Now, if you're a sole proprietor, your DBA can be your name. So it could be Jessica King DBA, Jessica King Wellness, or Jessica King Coaching, or something like that if you want. It can be your business name, like Ignite Your Wellness Business. You get to decide, but if you change it at any time, you have to refile your DBA, and it can mess up your checking account. So just be aware of that. This is the one thing that might take a little bit longer, because your DBA, it'll take a couple weeks to get back, and then you have to publish it to a newspaper. You can publish it to the Coast News or the Encinitas Advocate, and they have to run it for a few weeks in a row, and you have to bring the newspaper clipping, your DBA, and your EIN to the bank account, and that's how you got your business checking account. So that's the one thing that might take a little bit longer. What I personally did when I was in that situation of starting to see clients early is I just put the money in a separate my savings account, and then as soon as I could open my business checking, I just moved it over to there. You also want a way to be able to take payments. I see so many business owners not taking credit cards, or passing their credit cards on to their clients, and or just relying on Venmo. You're not going to be a legitimate business if you're not able to take credit cards. Be a legitimate business, take credit cards, and you wrap the cost, because it's a cost of doing business, of having the credit card processor, wrap that into your fees. If you're thinking about charging $100 an hour, and you know you're going to get dinged on for credit card fees, make your your hourly charge 110, because I can tell you, I've been in positions where I've felt nickel and dime. I did not go back to that practitioner when they're like, okay, you need to pay me an extra $5 so I don't get charged with the credit card processing. I tell you, that's BS, and that's not good business. You take the hit for that and just wrap it into your fees, and then it's not a problem. I think I saw another question here. You're welcome, Jessica. Any other questions? So plan for that. Plan to use Square. I have the little Square reader for in-person. Square also has an online component where you can send the link. Schedulers like Acuity and Calendly, I highly recommend getting one of those. That's going to be in the next slide. Often it's so easy to get paid. They will have links. PayPal, of course, Stripe, any of those. It's so easy to set up. I tell people, they're like, how can I pay you? I was like, any of the ways. What's best for you? Make it easy for your people to pay you. Don't worry about the fees. Of course, if you can get lower fees, you can do that, but pretty much they're all pretty comparable. Okay, so these are more or less of like the logistics and more of like systems and processes that you have in your business. So we're going to move on to that right now. Before I do that, any questions? I'm just going to sit down here for a moment. I like to practice what I preach in my physical therapy world of not staying in one static position. So I'm always sitting up, standing down, standing up, sitting down throughout my day. Okay, so some operational systems that you want to have in place so you're not caught by surprise. Now, that being said, do not spend weeks creating those and not getting out and marketing to people and signing clients. Do this stuff in between sessions, in between marketing. Client sessions go on the calendar, marketing time goes on the calendar, and then in blocks where you don't have anything scheduled, then this stuff goes on the calendar. That's your priority, okay? You want a payment policy. So you can have a coaching contract. I have a lawyer that creates coaching contracts. She created my coaching contracts. I can send you to if interested, or you can Google it right now. Her name's Christy Westerfield. She can create your coaching contracts, which you will feel more aware about after we get to some other questions we're going to go over in terms of your offer. And then tell them, do they have to pay in full right off the bat? If you have a package of 12, it's $2,000, for example. Do they have to pay it all up front? Or can they do a payment plan? And how does that payment plan work? Is it divided up over 6 months? Is it by 3 months? Have that written out for them so the client will sign and check off on that. Have a cancellation or a no-show policy. What happens if people ghost you or don't show up? Now, here's my personal opinion on this. Your clients are probably hiring you because their health, their wellness, and their life is a mess. And that's why they need your help. So please be compassionate with them. I always do a get out of jail free 1 or 2 times, because I know that even though, business coaching, for example, I very rarely have a no-show. Actually, in my business coaching world, I don't really know if I've had a no-show, and I've been doing this for a few years. But in my practitioner, when I had my brick and mortar, and I still have some old patients that come to me here in the She Shed. Sometimes on occasion I'll get a no-show. And often it's because something's happened. Maybe they're just having a really bad day. Maybe an emergency happened, of course. But if I have some people that work with me 5-10 years. And if in their time span of working with me for 5 or 10 years, this is like maybe the first or second time that they've missed an appointment by accident, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go and give them grace, because if they value me so much to come year after year, week after week, I am not going to nickel and dime them, because here's the truth. I am so busy in my business. There is a million other things that I can do in that hour if they don't show up. And I'm going to get to work right away on that. So as soon as someone's not present 5 or 10 minutes into the session, I'm calling them or texting them. And if they're telling me, oh, shoot, I forgot, I'm saying, not a problem. Don't worry about it. Let's get you in the books again. You've never done this, or you haven't done this in the past 5 years. I'm going to let it go. It's not a problem. Stuff happens. Let's get you rescheduled. And then I get to work with the remaining 50 minutes and I get a lot of stuff done. And I'm not thinking about it again. I'm not holding I see so many practitioners holding resentment about it, talking about how their clients abuse them and take advantage of them. If you run a tight ship where you're running on time, you're ending on time, you're not flaking on them, you're not rescheduling last minute, you're running a legit business, they will respect you and you'll get very rare no-shows and cancellations. And when it does, again, usually it'll be more rare. And I'll tell you, in my time of doing business since 2016, I don't know. Okay. I had someone who had to cancel last minute. And actually, no, that's a lie. I did have one person. He's actually a patient and I coach him in his business. And he had to reschedule. It was a week, something came up with his work and he had to reschedule last minute and he flaked on one session. So I dinged him for the one session because he told me to. He's like, just take it off of one of my sessions. And then we rescheduled the other. The first time I let him reschedule last minute and I just got to work. But then when he no-showed, I forget what happened first. I told him, I was like, this isn't acceptable. We had a hard conversation. He's like, yeah, no, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. I wouldn't want people doing that to me. And so I did ding him. He lost a session. So you get to decide, is it a session that they lose if they're doing it a lot? Or are you going to charge them $75? But it shouldn't be a big thing in your business. If it is, then something else is going on in your business that needs to be tightened up. Like maybe it's how your boundaries or how you're showing up as a practitioner. You want a scheduling policy. So I'm pretty busy. I'll work with anywhere from 15 to 23 people in a week. So I got to have a tight ship. It's just me. I have a VA who on occasion will make graphics and she does my audiograms for my podcast. And I have a podcast editor. That's another mistake I see is people hiring too early, multiple 6 figures. I don't have any full-time staff. I don't have any staff, in fact. So it can be done. So you can take home more profit and reinvest back in your business. And I last summer was having a problem with a lot of people texting me to reschedule their appointments. I use Acuity personally for scheduling. So you do want to use a scheduler, and people weren't rescheduling their own appointments. And I found myself in between sessions doing a lot of back and forth via email and text to reschedule people. And that can really chew up your time. So I made a policy, like if you need to reschedule, use the link of your confirmation email and try that first. If you really can't find a spot for weeks out because I'm so busy, then message me and I'll personally get you in because I keep some overflow spots. So, and that cut down on my back and forth texting a ton. So have a scheduling and a reschedule policy for your people. You do need a mailing address for your DBA. And also you want to establish Google My Business. Even if you are online, Google My Business is great because it's a search engine and people will Google like yoga teacher near me, health coach near me. And to get on Google My Business, you need a mailing address. So for me, for a while, I used my personal address. I might still even have that up now. I don't remember. But you can use your personal address. There's some not so great people on the internet. So you might not want to use your personal address. That's totally fine. Get a PO box and use that instead. Or I'm part of HeraHub. a co-working space here in they're in Carlsbad, and I use them for my mailing address. So there's a lot of different alternatives that you can do if you don't want to use your personal address. Of course, if you have a brick and mortar, then you use that address. You want to have how are you going to document even if you're not a healthcare provider, if you're a yoga teacher or a health coach, you probably want to keep track of what's happening in sessions. I don't know if you can see, but I got a stack of on pen and paper there. You see my files for my physical therapy business. I'm old school. And then for because I'm completely cash based, I don't do insurance. But I have a client, Christina. I have a couple clients that take insurance. For my coaching business, I use Google Drive. So my clients have access to it too. And we can have communication back and forth in between sessions. So what's your policy of documentation and notes? Sometimes your scheduler can be combined with that, like Intake Queue is a great one. Jane app is a big one. It's a beast. You definitely don't need a big EMR documentation scheduling system like that just starting. But Emily, for example, she knew she was going to get busy fast. Mindset, it's everything, and she did. And so she went with Jane's app right away. So it's up to you. You do you, but get organized there, and then make sure you have a consent to work with or a consent to treat in the physical therapy, as it's called, a waiver, and then your contract. So those are templates that you need. And again, you can do this in your off time. It doesn't need to be done. You don't need to wait to start seeing people often. The policies really come to play the more people you work with, because you're like, oh, that system didn't really work out so well. I think I need to revise that. So the more people you work with, the more you'll find out what works best for you and the type of people that you attract. Any questions on that? Okay, so we're going to move to the next thing here. So Allison is in France, which is really fun. And she came to me just starting off, and I think she had one client. She's a dating coach, so she's 100% online. And we got her clear on her offer. We clarified her offer. We got her marketing plan, her selling plan, and we worked on her client renewal plan, because the one client she did have was getting ready to renew, and she didn't have a process in place for that. And within just a few months, with her marketing plan, she had no DVs. Her story is also on Instagram and on my website, but you'll hear her say, like, she had no consultations in the books, and she got to work on the marketing plan that we created together. And then within just a couple months, she had a bunch of consults in the books and a new client. And so it can happen really quickly when you have a marketing plan in place, which is what we're going to get to now. So this is in your handout under we're going to clarify your offer so you know what you're marketing. And then the next page in your handout is the marketing plan itself. So they kind of go hand in hand, because when you feel confident about in your offer and you're like, this offer is amazing, I'm going to help so many people, you'll be so excited and you'll be telling everyone. So we're going to get to that. So before we moved on to that, any questions on kind of the business logistics setups and the operational systems that you want to have in place to start? Feeling good? Feeling good? I'm going to take another sip of water here. This is my brick and mortar clinic here before I move to the she shed. Telling you, people thought I was nuts when I did that. They're like, you have a successful business. Why are you moving to a shed that doesn't have a bathroom? No one's going to want to see you. It was because I wanted to spend more time with my daughter and see my daughter more. And I personally am an introvert. I love being at home. I love working from home. I am working my dream business here at home, where I get to go. You guys will love this. where I get to go up to the house and make I love making my lunch from like fresh lunch, like salad or an omelet or what. I love having it fresh. I don't like bringing it in containers because sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this happen where you bring a lunch to work and then it's not what you want to eat. And then you're like, don't have enough time to go out and buy something and you got to eat something. And it just doesn't sit right. So anyways, a little bit about me. I love working from home. So, and I tell you, I think because I work from home, that's what makes it so successful. And people don't care that I don't have a bathroom. All right. So you can do it anyway. We're going to go over these questions. If you don't have your handout, I'm going to read it to you so you can, just write it down. So person, pretty specific. Now here your brain is going to want to go into the niche drama. We're going to decide here, keep it for at least 3 months. Try it for at least 3 months before you change it. You can change it, right? But try it. Try getting a few clients and stick with it so you can go forward. So who's the person you're going to help? Maybe it's any person. You're going to help them with their yoga, get stronger, feel more flexible. Maybe you help females lose weight. It can be very general. Maybe you help anyone lose weight. Maybe you help them with your general health. Take a moment, write it down now. If you have a question on this or you want to, I would love to hear what are some people that you're going to help, in what way. That gets us a little bit into the next one. So if you want to go right to the next one too, because that might help you think of the person, is think about, this is so important when it comes to marketing, because you want to be super, super specific, is what do they struggle with in their day to day? So I think about my business client. They're struggling, like they go to sit down to go market, but then they're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know where to find my ideal client. So they're like frozen at the computer. Maybe my ideal client is getting a lot of no's on consults and they need help creating a consultation process that works and gets more yeses. So think about your ideal person. What keeps them up at night? What do they worry about? What is their desire? What do they want in life? Maybe they want to feel stronger. Maybe they want to do crow pose. Maybe they want to be able to eat in a way where they have more energy. Maybe they want to sleep through the night. So write some answers to those and then share it in the Q&A or the chat if you feel bold. I'd love to see who you guys want to work with. I'll give you a moment to do that. Your brain is going to be like, I don't know. Normal. This is going to stretch your brain in new ways. This is part of the skill building here. So just remind your brain, it's all right. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to just think of this ideal person. Okay, the promise. How do you want to help them? So I don't recommend doing one-off sessions. I have clients that sell one-off sessions, but meaning a person is paying session by session, but that their clients know they're not expecting to get all their problems solved in one session. So if someone works with you for 6 sessions or 12 sessions, what's the promise that you want to get them at the end of that? Maybe it's sleep better through the night. Maybe it's feel less stressed so they're not yelling at their kids as much. Maybe it's the ability to feel comfortable in their yoga practice so they can go to any yoga class and know how to care for their body best. What's the promise you want to deliver while working with them? And again, this is an area that's pretty different and not talked about, because a lot of times we just think about session by session, but you want to think of it as a program or as a package, because this helps to create a sustainable business, more reliable income. And here's the truth. People will get better results. You will help people better the more you work with them. I myself have a 6-month package. You don't have to do 6 months. You can start off with 6 weeks. I have a client, her name's Lynn, and she's a physical therapist. When she first started working with me, she helps runners. She was selling a lot of onesies and twosies, and she wasn't getting a lot of renewals. And we built up her skill set to be able to sell packages of 3 consistently. And now she's at packages of 6 like a rock star, rolling them out, selling packages of 6 all the time. And then, and she's selling now an occasional 12. Makes a huge difference in the results that people are getting with her. So they're renewing because they're seeing progress. And she's having more reliable income. So what's the promise? Her promise is she helps runners run faster, longer, stronger, decrease race time, without risk of injury. So what can you promise something? And now again, your brain here is going to be like, well, I don't know what I can promise. How can you guarantee that? So I'll give an example. For me, with my business entrepreneurs, again, I said it's a 6-month package. I can't promise that I can guarantee you'll be fully booked, even though it commonly happens within that 6 months. Or I can't promise that you'll hit 6 figures in 6 months, but I'll for sure promise that I'm going to teach you the process and the skill set. I have 6 pillars I walk you through to get fully booked. And most of my practitioners do get fully booked or darn near close. And or so you're on the way to 6 figures. So that's my promise. And if you work with me multiple rounds, I'll get you there for sure. And so then again, I'm planting the seeds that this is an ongoing thing. People need health. I need my health and wellness practitioners, just like my car needs to go to the car mechanic. When I know that it's an ongoing thing, I'm planning it in my budget. And that's how you have clients like me, patients like me for life. Stick with you 5-10 years. And they're a pleasure to work with. When you're working with people that value your health, their own health, and value the work that you do, you will love going to work every day in your business. Okay. Any questions on that? We're going to get to the pricing. Lots of drama on pricing. I actually have a free guide. It's on the website. I have to stop my share to get there. So at the end, I'll drop it in. If you want, and a podcast episode, it's episode 201. It's called The Perfect Pricing Formula. So if you don't feel clear on the pricing today, you feel like you need a little bit more time to think about it, it's all right. Your action step is to, by next week, have decided on your price. And you can use the podcast and my free guide, The Perfect Pricing Formula, to help with that. So the question I like to think about is, when you're thinking about the promise that you want to promise someone, what's the length of time that'll be needed for your ideal client, the person that you thought about here in the first P? How long will it take them to achieve that? Now, if you haven't worked with a lot of people, this can be a little bit arbitrary. So just trust your intuition here and pick kind of the first number that comes up. I started with shorter programs. In my brick and mortar, I was selling, on average, I would sell packages of 8 was most common. So 8-week sessions, which sometimes ended up being 10 or 12 because the last couple of sessions I would spread it out. Then I started going to 12 weeks. And with my business coaching people, I know that it takes a bit to like get things rolling. Sometimes, like Emily, as you see, she got fully booked in couple months, she says in her story. But so then we work on her next goals in her business. So there's always something to work on. If they complete their goal ahead of time, there's always something to work on. You know this with their health. If they are able to go to yoga classes, great. Now help them with specific poses. If they achieve their weight loss goals, great. Now work on helping them maintain it for 6 months. There's always something to work on. So what is the length of time, ideally, that you would need to help people get those results? And so then if you're thinking, okay, I think a 12-week package, a 3-month program, that's where a lot of practitioners kind of start, 6 or 12 weeks. what's the price? Now, on average, I'll give you some numbers to work with. Usually $100 if you're just starting out is kind of the average session cost. If you're just starting out, if you're a little bit more skilled, experienced, then it can be, 125, 150 a session. And then you just times that by 12 to get your package price. And you can sign them session by session if you want as you build your selling skill set. Decide now, though, what you want to do and some of those numbers. Let me know if you have questions. Got a question here. I think. Oh, open. Oh, yeah. So Jess asked, is it okay to be lower than 100 if you're just starting out? Is it bad to start out too low? I'm struggling with asking for money part of this. I have imposter syndrome, I think. So common, Jess. So common. Yeah, it's better. And I say this in the podcast. It's better to feel confident with your pricing. So if you want to start out on the lower end, do it because it's better to feel confident. Because then if you show up because the difference is like someone asks you your price and you're like, it's $50. You know it's a steal. You know you'll give them value. Then you're going to show up like confidently and they'll feel that and be like, oh, yeah, I trust her. She's got this. And they'll be more likely, you'll get more yeses. Whereas if you're like, it's $100 and you're more tentative and in that imposter syndrome, then you'll get more no's because they'll feel that. And so here's the thing, when you get more yeses at a lower rate, you'll get more momentum because you'll get more referrals. They'll tell their friends, things will get rolling, and maybe it'll happen quicker where you raise your rates. And then I help a lot of clients with raising their rates. So it's better to start lower and then go higher than start higher and get a lot of no's and be really frustrated and defeated and then have to lower. So yeah, for sure. Great question, Jess. I'm glad you brought that up. Any other questions like that? Okay, as you finish up on that, and again, you can always come back to this, but it's better to just decide, start on the lower end, maybe even the lower length of time in your package if you're going to do packages, and then build the price, build the length of packages over time, the more people you work with. Again, do you hear a common theme? The more people you work with, the more you'll know. The best thing you can do is just get out there and start marketing, which we're going to talk about in a second, and getting clients through the door. That's the best thing you can do because everything else will fall into place after that. And it'll feel messy because you won't have all the perfect pieces perfectly aligned and in a bow. But your wellness business is never going to feel perfect. It might be like for a split second, you might be like, oh, I think I've got it. And then something will change. So it's better to get comfortable with the unknown and the discomfort. Get more comfortable with being uncomfortable and you'll go far. And for imposter syndrome, there's a lot you can do for that too. I have a lot of podcast episodes on that. I work a lot on that with my clients and their own nervous systems. So Jess here, for example, Christina, this is Christina. She's a physical therapist, also specializes in women's health. I don't treat, it just happens that my marketing, whatever I was saying in my marketing at that time, happened to attract a lot of PTs in the women's health space. And also it's just a blossoming field. There's a lot of yoga teachers I work with too that are in women's health space. It's very needed. And she was a mobile PT to start with, just a couple clients, patients. And she does hybrid, both cash and insurance based. And within our 6 months of together, she's fully booked. She, in fact, got so busy, she was able to go from being a mobile PT driving all around to, she's here in San Diego. If you ever want to work with her yourself, you need any women's health issues, I highly recommend her. She's very skilled. And to now she has a beautiful brick and mortar down in the Kearny Mesa area. So I think it's Kearny Mesa, it's somewhere down south. So yeah, it can happen very fast. But for her, she was going through, her story is also on the podcast and online. She was going through some major life transitions when we first started working together. So she was not prioritizing herself. She was not prioritizing her own self-care. She was burnout. She was tired. She was stressed out. And she wasn't making money. And so we turned it all around. We got her more patients. We worked on, she is very active. As you can see, she's very fit. So she rock climbs all the time. Now she's paddle boarding. She has a daughter. She spends lots of time with her daughter. Her mom's aging. She helps her, has time to help her mom. And she does something else she does a lot of CrossFit. So she has ample time to do all this and run her brick and mortar, and she just loves it. So that's Jess' story. So if you are feeling a lot of uncomfortable emotions, just know that you can work with that and you can hear her story online. All right, let's do your marketing plan, AKA promotion of self, which, and I say that because you have a personal brand. Most wellness entrepreneurs have a personal brand. So you're going to want your face showing up on the internet, or you're going to be in person talking to people, and it's going to be vulnerable. And you're promoting your work, but it's your face, because you're not a big business like Coca-Cola that is a recognizable brand. Coca-Cola spends millions and millions of dollars on marketing, and that is how they have a reputable brand, and there isn't a person. So there's a difference between a personal brand and a commercial brand. And you, if you're just starting out, most wellness entrepreneurs are a personal brand. And so you got to get out there. It's so simple. This is what you do. You get out there, you talk to people online or in person. You tell them what you do. I'm a yoga teacher. I help people with their flexibility and their strengths so they can lose weight, feel better, sleep through the night, have more energy. Make an offer to help. Oh, you struggle with that? That's exactly what I do. Would you like to schedule a consultation to talk about this more? As simple as that. I just had a reel the other day that people found funny, because I said it was like a yoga teacher where I was pretending to be a yoga teacher and a student at the end of class, where the student was like, "Can you tell me about your sciatic pain?" And the yoga teacher is like, "Oh, sure," and gives them all these poses because they want, the student to work with them and they want to help them, but they give them like a ton of stuff. And the student's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to go. I didn't expect it to take this long." And the yoga teacher's like yelling out after the student, "Work with me, work with me." It's so common. I've been there. A lot of people commented on that reel. This is so relatable. Been there, done that. Make an offer for a consultation. Get them into a safe space, whether it's in your Zoom room or in your treatment room, and just have a 20-minute, or my consultations are 45 minutes, and talk with them. It's so worth the time. And I teach my clients the selling skills of how to run a consultations and get yeses, but just start to think of this framework. It can be so simple. You're out at a networking event at CIHS, meeting people, someone's telling you about their problem. You're like, because now you have the problems written down of your ideal client, being like, oh, I can help you with that. That's exactly what I do and how I help people. And the other person's like, oh, really? Tell me more. And you say, well, let's schedule a consult to talk about it. So that way, you can tell me specifically what's going on in your world and I can hear, and you don't have to talk about that vulnerable stuff with all these people around. Or after class is a horrible time to talk about it because there's tons of people in the studio. The person probably has to go pick up their kids or get to work. They didn't plan for that extra time. So you want them to plan for the time for you to talk about working together, but you do want to be making offers to help them or offers for consultations. So let's break this down a little bit. In the sheet here, I say talk to people. So let's break that down. Where will you meet people? Now, you can play to your strengths. If you hate Instagram, don't put down social media. It's going to be a marketing mismatch. It's going to feel forced and yucky, and you're never going to do it. So if you love talking with people in person, put networking events, get a meetup profile and go to all the meetups. Get on CIHS newsletter. Go join Encinitas Chamber of Commerce or whatever town you're in. There's a ton of events you can go to and you can fill your practice that way. It does not have to be on social media. Or if you like social media, personally, I've gotten over my social media hangups because it's free marketing. I now do Facebook ads, but I've grown my business to beyond 6 figures organically, meaning no ads, no paid traffic, all off Facebook and Instagram. I sign lots and lots of people off Facebook and Instagram. So if I can do it, I am not a special snowflake. And you'll see, now I have a large following. I've got 7,000 people, but you see, I don't get a ton of likes, 20, 30, sometimes 100 if, something goes viral or whatnot, but it's not a ton. And, but the thing is, I sign clients. I'm making offers all the time on Instagram. So don't post and ghost. I go into a lot of specifics about this in my program, all about marketing and messaging, what to say, how to talk to your person, how to make offers, all that stuff. But we can start that right now. So write down 1 to 3 ways of where you'll meet people. Maybe it's Instagram, networking events, and maybe you'll teach your own workshops. Write them down in the chat. So, because sometimes people's ideas spur on different ideas. Some of my marketing tactics now that I'm beyond 6 figures, a podcast, you for sure don't need that. And I have a newsletter list. I recommend starting to build that newsletter list right now because it's an asset in your business. And I have a bonus in my portal on how to start your email list with ease. But you just start getting, for now, just start getting email addresses and you can send a BCC. So they're hidden and you can start emailing them. Okay, another common question is telling people what you do. Wellness entrepreneurs get so hung up on this because a lot of times you are multi-skilled and you want to bring in all your certifications, right? It's like me coming up and showing up, like saying I'm at a networking event. Oh, hi, I'm Dr. Elson. I'm a physical therapist, yoga teacher, massage therapist, and coach. Like that just sounds bleh. Ooh, hoity-toity, right? Instead, I say, hi, I'm Elson. I help wellness entrepreneurs grow a profitable business. So clear, right? It's clear and it's focused on them. So they can identify with me like, oh, I get it. I need her help or I don't need her help. And it starts a conversation. So what will you tell people? Maybe it's something simple like I help people with their health through yoga. I help people through their health through gut efficiency. I help people lose weight. I help people feel better in their health. That one's pretty general, but it's okay. It's a good place to start. How will you describe what you do? And how will you describe your program is the next question. Write that down. And here's the thing. The more people you work with, the clearer all this gets. So the first few networking events, the first few times you say these things, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel awkward. That's why get out and go to networking events. I'm always messaging with my Instagram audience. I'm not sending cold spam DMs, sign up for my consult, copy and paste. No, none of that garbage. I'm actually personally getting to know them. And yes, all this takes time. But here's the thing. You're an entrepreneur, not an employee. An employee goes to their job, does what their boss says, and then goes home and doesn't think about it. An entrepreneur is doing this type of work. And then you have to have boundaries so you too can go home and not think about it. But you have to carve out time to do all this. You have to. I don't usually say shoulds and have tos, but you really do have to market. But the shoulding of how you market, that can be up to you. And I help wellness entrepreneurs craft an aligned marketing plan so they do show up more. So if you want my help with marketing or selling or any of that, I've got an offer for you just here in a moment. But I'll give you a couple more minutes to write out these questions. Make sure you don't have any questions. I'll tell you a little about Joe. Joe came to me, no clients and no email list, and was just on social media on occasion to put like an inspirational quote up, and he had his brand logo up. You didn't see any of Joe personally. He hated marketing, which is why. He's a spiritual coach and Reiki practitioner. And we did a lot of work on imposter syndrome and shifting from really viewing marketing as promotion of self into a place of serving and helping people and creativity. He's a very creative person. In our time together, he wrote a whole book. And you don't have to. I haven't wrote a book yet, but he had a strong desire. This is why I say you got to do you. He had a strong desire to write a book. It needed to come out of him. So he wrote a book and started to really grow to love marketing through our work together. And now you can hop over to his account. It's he's on Instagram. This is his account. I'll tell you, it's kind of long. It's because I'm so impressed by his marketing now. Spirit Flourish _Oceanside _Reiki. If you want to follow him, but he's on there quite frequently and he's signed a bunch of clients. He's almost fully booked now and from zero. So, and the reason why I like to tell his story is because sometimes Reiki practitioners and spiritual coaches, like making money, there can be a lot of like mind drama around that. And we did this work with Joe and he fully believes like the more people he helps, that's the whole reason why he's doing it. And the more people he helps, the more money he makes. So it's a win-win. But you can see there that he used to not like marketing and now he's showing up and he's feeling a lot better in his day to day. So we went over these questions of where you'll meet people. How will you describe what you do? This is Stephanie. She's a yoga therapist. She is rad. She used to be here local and now is in Japan, actually. And how will you offer to help them? We answered those. Oh, this is Ilya. We worked on his selling because he's a yoga therapist and has a brick and mortar. He's also a biofeedback practitioner, neurobiofeedback, so very specialized. So he came to me and he was like, I need to get more leads. I have a marketing problem. And I said, okay. And after listening to him, I was like, are you getting consultations? He's like, oh yeah, I have a ton. They're just not saying yes. And I was like, oh, you don't have a marketing problem. You have a sales problem. And so we worked on his consultation skills, and he was too sciencey in his consultations. And instead we flipped it to focusing on the client's problems and the solutions, what we just did, what their desires are. And he started getting a lot more yeses. And so that's how you can create more money working less time, because he didn't need more consultations. He just needed more yeses. So now he makes more money in less time because he doesn't need as many consultations. So here's big picture as you're moving forward. These are the other areas that are really required to grow your business. You have all that you need right now to sign clients. You can go out there and go to a networking event, tell your offer, and sign a client. It's happened. Many of my clients, I might do this in their very first session, and then what we just did, and then they'll send me a text, and before our next appointment, they'll be like, I signed a client. So get out there. You can do this work right now. You can sign a client today if you wanted to. And then as you go forward in your business, you also need to, dial in on your messaging with your marketing, especially if you're writing emails, which you definitely want to do at some point, and are posting on social media, and get more clarity about your brand and positioning. As I said, there's ways to really differentiate yourself in your marketing so you stand out from all the other health and wellness practitioners out there. I call that the E² factor, where it's really based upon your own experience, so your personal story and your expertise, so you can stand up, because that creates your values and your soapbox, and there's ways that you bring that into your messaging. You also need a way to sell. So you need a way to convert your audience from your marketing to potential customers. I recommend doing consultations. I teach that. And then you need a process and a system to renew clients, because that's going to create reliable and reoccurring revenue. So you're not always out there having to get new patients and clients. So you want a client renewal blueprint. And during all that, you also want to know your numbers of like, what are your leads? What are your expenses? There's certain numbers that you want to track in your business, so you know that you're on target or not and what to do about it. It'll guide your day-to-day decision-making. And then as Jess highlighted, there's certain emotions like imposter syndrome, or if you're not having time to embody your own wellness practices, that you might be leaning towards burnout, that you need to work on those, making sure you're managing your schedule, making sure you have time with your family, making sure you're turning off your entrepreneurial brain. You want to make sure you are resting completely. I don't work evenings past 5, done. I don't work weekends. And when I say I don't work weekends, I mean, it's not just not working with clients on weekends. I don't open my laptop at all. The only thing I may do is journal on occasion or hop onto social media and like some things, but I don't work on the weekends. And so I come to every Monday well rested, refreshed, ready to go, excited to show up in my business. So you want to make sure that you have these 6 critical pillars in your wellness business. So the big picture overview. And if you want my help working with me on this right now, I have a couple one-to-one spots available. I'm taking my last few clients for one-to-one for the year. And so there's a link right there at the bottom of the page. You can go there right now. If you go to igniteyourwellness.com with the UR, there's a big orange yellow button right there on the home screen. Just hit that and you can book your consult right now. I highly recommend doing this sooner rather than later, or use the QR code right there. Because, life happens. If you've got kids, once you get home, your kids are going to be needing something. Your husband or partner might be needing something. It's better to do this now rather than later. If you think you want my eyes on your business to grow faster, to start signing clients sooner than later, to get your messaging down and get your sales process going, so you can help more people. And when you do, this is possible. Like I said, like I'm really living my life. I work with a lot of dream clients. I have patients that have been coming to me for years. I don't market my brick and mortar shed at all. All my marketing is going to business coaching. But I have these patients that still just keep coming because they get benefit, and I love working with them, and I love my business coaching. I have ample time with my family. And for my own self, like my own health, that's me, like doing handstands. I've been through a lot. I've had 3 abdominal surgeries, which is another story for another day, but I'm out there doing my yoga practice, back bending, wheeling, handstands. And the only reason why I'm able to get back that way is because I carved out time to care for my own health. And so if I can do it, you can do it too. Don't let your health be a cost of having a successful business, because you can do both. Okay, so that's what I got for you today. Any questions as we finish up here? Thank you so much for coming. If you're watching this on the replay and have a question, feel free to respond to any of the emails. It's me that'll answer it, so I'll get your question answered.
Thank you so much, Allison.
You're welcome.
That was such a wealth of information. And yes, I'm glad the replay is going to be available to everybody so they can rewatch it and give it some time to take it all in. So we always appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for joining us. Those of you that were here live with us, thank you for your participation and your questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, those of you that are local and you'd like to join that Monday networking meeting, that's the first Monday of every month. If you're on our email list, you'll receive updates as well as social media. So we hope to see you there and continue to help you in this process of building your business.
Yeah.
We're here for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Reach out to myself with any other requests for future programming, or maybe more that you'd like to see from Allison. We could definitely probably do a part 2.
Love that.
Yeah. So again, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah.